Be talking about lucid dreaming and also what it means to live with lucidity. So, my name is Nisha Burton, and I'm here with my mom, Norma Burton. We co write and co teach together about the art of the dream time and the art of knowing how to bring lucidity into your life more and more. So my mom is a little bit, she's recovering from a cold, so she won't be talking as much as usual, but talking and chiming in some as well. So just to start bringing us into the space, and then we'll introduce ourselves a little bit more. I love to just take a few deep breaths together and arrive in this space. So let's just breathe in. Yes. And I'm curious too, as we get started, since you all came here, how many of you know what lucid dreaming is? If you could raise your hand if you know what lucid dreaming is. Wonderful. And are quite a few of you just curious what lucid dreaming is and want to find out? Okay, great. So we're going to be talking all about that. First, again, my name is Nisha Burton, and how I came into lucid dreaming is really through being in a lineage of dreamers. My mom, being raised by her, was so amazing because she worked with shamans and indigenous teachers all around the world. And so from the time I was a child, she would lead tours to these various sacred sites around the world, and I was going with her. And I was getting to learn and see from these various cultures how there's a lot more integration between the dream time and ordinary reality in other cultures that are different from our Western culture, where it's very focused on waking reality as the most important thing, and the dream time really gets disregarded or diminished. And so being raised in a way that I was seeing how the two worlds, the waking world and the dream time, could be much more integrated, and that makes you much more of a whole person because you're walking through consciously all the realities that we constantly traverse. Regardless of if we pay attention to the dream time or not, we are always going into it. And so to bring awareness and lucidity is really a valuable skill in that space. And then in my early 20s is when I really delved into the practices of lucid dreaming. And I always talk about how lucid dreaming, some people think it's just something that some people naturally are good at and other people can't do, but really it is a skill and a practice that you do in waking reality to train your mind towards lucidity in the dream time. So that's what we're going to be teaching about today, the foundations of that skill that you can take right from this workshop and start practicing and then be able to have lucid dreams and work with your dream time more. So before we get into that, I'll let my mom talk about herself a little bit too.
How many of you remember your dreams? Yeah. Everybody dreams every night. Scientists have proven, right? But a lot of times we don't remember them. So it's really important to create what Nisha calls a dream hygiene practice, where you actually take care of your dreams by paying attention to them and writing them down every single morning. That's the beginning of any kind of work with your dreams, is to value them, cherish them, and write them down, even if they're just a little snippet that doesn't make sense, right? When I was a kid, I had lots of dreams, and my grandmother was somebody who really honored that, and she would ask me about my dreams, and we'd go on walks together, and she would talk to me about her dreams and ask me about mine. And so I did that with Nisha too. From the time she was little, she had amazing dreams. Like I remember one when she was just 18 months old, just beginning to talk, really. And she woke up and she said, "Where's the hole?" And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" And she was moving back the bed sheet saying, "Where's the hole? Where's the hole?" I said, "What? Did you dream something?" She says, "Yes, I went down a tunnel, and down in there I met a tiger, and the tiger was my friend." And I'm like, wow, she had her first shamanic dream. And so it was really exciting to be a parent who could value the dream time, because I bet all kids, all of you, had amazing dreams when you were little, but maybe nobody was there to catch on to it or to understand what was happening. So we're really connected with the other dimensions when we're little, right? Rudolf Steiner said that up until age 8, we're really living in the other dimensions and this dimension pretty mixed, full on, and then we start to shift more and more into ordinary reality. But anyway, all of us have a lot of capacity. We call it our birthright to be mystics, to be multidimensional beings, and we need to be. It's so much more important nowadays than ever, I think, to really tune into the expansive wisdom that we have available to us so that we can bring through our creativity quickly things that need to happen on Earth, right? So another part of my background is that I have been always fascinated with indigenous culture because I was blessed also to grow up on a Native American reservation in the United States because my grandmother was a medical doctor and my grandfather a businessman, and they decided to move to a reservation to be of service. And so I grew up with that biculturalism that I didn't even realize how wonderful that was till I was older. But looking back on it, it gave me a real heart for indigeneity and wanting to understand indigenous thinking and being. And so I was just compelled to travel around the world and learn as much as I could. So got to live in South America, Central America, and Asia. Lived in Japan for 4 years. There is shamanism, that word that we use to try to describe indigenous healing practices all over the world, in every culture. And I always like to emphasize, too, that it's in Western culture, too, right? But we just might have to dig a little bit further for it because it's been covered up and persecuted. But in each of us, there is this back to the land, knowing the wisdom of nature and of our union with all that is in us. And we need to discover that. Each of us needs to take time to be in nature and to be with our own indigeneity. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Have you been doing that in your lives? Yeah.
Here we are in this beautiful nature space too.
Right.
And so as you're hearing, my mom and I are really passionate about teaching people how to tap into their inner worlds and how to learn from their psyches. And so as we were thinking about, okay, what's our best offering to this landscape of how to teach lucid dreaming? And I was reading the works of Stephen LaBerge, who is a scientist that studies lucid dreaming, as well as studying deeply Tibetan dream yoga, which is the practice of lucid dreaming for realization. We came across the common issue that people get into lucid dreaming for a little while, and maybe they'll read a book about it, but then they'll kind of fall off the practice. And really it is a practice that you need to maintain. So we came up with the idea of creating an oracle deck and a book that teach about how to lucid dream in this fun and non-linear way, where you can just pull a card and there's a teaching around lucid dreaming and the dream time, as well as waking reality like you would find in a traditional oracle deck to give you guidance for your life. So how we love to teach at workshops like this is by showing some of the cards and passing them around. And this is quite a big group, so they'll make their way around as I'm talking about things. And if you could just make sure the last person who receives the card to bring it back up here. But I really find that the visuals help anchor the teachings, and they help to just, when you're thinking, oh, what was that one piece? Oh yes, I remember what that card looked like. Now I remember what they were talking about. So we're going to start in on talking and teaching about lucid dreaming, and I'll be passing and showing these cards as well. So the first thing that you need to do when you are embarking on your journey toward lucid dreaming and into the dream time is being able to remember your dreams and connect with your dream time. And I know this can be an issue, do some of you out there have a hard time remembering your dreams? Yes, yeah. Even myself, being so practiced in this work of dream work, I have a hard time remembering my dreams sometimes too, so there's some tricks that you can do. And this first card is called Catching the Tail of the Dragon, which is a metaphor we created to help you remember how to remember your dreams. a lot of times dreams can be very elusive and flighty, and we wake up and maybe we'll remember a tiny piece of it, but the rest is gone. And so really it is like catching that tail, like the little hair of the dragon's tail, to remember just one part of the dream. And then once you remember one part, more times than not, you're able to climb back on the back of the dragon and ride it back into your dream. So I'll start passing this card around as I talk about more techniques to remember your dream. So one thing you can do when you first wake up is to not move your head, not move your body, stay in the same position that you wake up in, and silence any self-defeating talk of, oh, I can't remember my dream, I totally forgot it, because that really will be a self-fulfilling prophecy, where it doesn't need to be. Because if you remember just one piece, if you remember a person you were just talking to, if you remember a feeling you were just having, a sensation that you were just feeling in your body, any one piece, you can then trace that back into the dream. So that's one technique that's really good for being able to remember your dream. And lately I've been using the feeling one. I remember an emotion I was just feeling. If I wake up and I'm like, I can't remember anything from my dream, I'm like, okay, well, what was the emotion that was attached to what I was just feeling? And then I'll remember the emotion. And then I'll remember, oh, wait, and yeah, that was tied to this one person I was talking to. And I'm like, oh, and we were talking about this. Oh, and then we were in this landscape. So you can see how it all starts flowing back.
Remembering is such an important thing that we're here to do. When I worked with these shaman women who say they worked with Carlos Castaneda and that whole Nagual community, they really focused on remembering. So we had to go into these intense trainings around remembering everything. They told us to wake up at 3 a.m. and go in a closet and close the door and turn on a flashlight and write down every person that we had met that day. I lived in Berkeley at the time and was meeting a lot of people on the streets and where I went, so that seemed daunting. But then they said, well, eventually we're going to ask you to remember everyone you've ever met. And it's like, what? That's insane, right? But they were serious about remembering. They said, at least remember every person you've ever had sexual encounter with. At least remember that, right? So it's about energy exchange. Like we're doing energy exchanges all the time in our lives and in our dream time, and we're supposed to remember so that we can get more and more impeccable about how we exchange energy and how we're using our energy. So here we're talking, not lightly, seriously, about remembering your dreams, because our dreams are a whole other dimension of our psyche and our wisdom, and there's a lot going on there that you need to value and remember. So we can't overemphasize enough this practice of remembering.
And one more thing you can do to remember your dreams is to write them down. This may seem simple, but it's actually the biggest act that you can take in your journey towards lucid dreaming and connecting with your dream time, because it's about honoring and valuing the dream time, and you're signaling to your psyche, yes, this is something important to me. I do want to remember it, because we encounter so many things in life, and so our brain is constantly organizing and sorting what is information that I discard, what is information that I anchor in. And so the act of physically writing, or you can do it on your phone as like a voice note, but the act of recollecting and putting down into word what you were just experiencing in the dream time really anchors your dreams in, and you'll find that the more you write your dreams down, the more you remember your dreams. It's this feedback loop that gets created where you're signaling to your brain, I want to remember, I write this down, and then writing them down is also a key component to lucid dreaming, because you're going to need to track your dreams, which is what we'll be talking about as the next step.
Tell them about the app, too.
Yeah, we actually have an app that's going to be launched soon that's a tool for you to track your dreams right in the app, and then be able to categorize them with lucid dreams or non-lucid dreams, and has all these built-in features around helping you to remember your dreams and write them down in a good way. And you can find all of our information, I'll just say this in the beginning because I know some people will flow in and flow out, at luciddreaminglucidliving.com. That's how you stay connected with us, and then all of our social media is under the same name. So if any of you float out, at least you'll have a way to stay connected with us. So the next thing that I want to talk about is levels of lucidity, and to give a definition of what lucid dreaming is, because I know some of you are here just curious about what it is. So first I'll show this card, and then we'll pass it around. Lucid dreaming is a dream in which you know beyond a doubt that you are dreaming within the dream. So you have this aha moment, you have this realization where you think, could I be dreaming? And you look around and then you realize, yes, I know I'm dreaming. And then the quality of the dream changes entirely. It feels as real as this waking reality. All of your senses come back online, taste, touch. It's the most amazing experience. And because you know you're in the dream, you know you're dreaming, then you have this level of agency within the dream where you can fly, you can do amazing things because you're like, hey, I'm in the dream world. The rules of waking reality don't apply as much here, and so I'm able to do these fantastical things and have them feel as real as waking reality does. So it's a truly amazing experience to have, and the scientific community for a long time didn't even think it was possible, because what happens in your brain is when you're sleeping and in REM sleep, the prefrontal cortex, the questioning part of your mind, is largely turned off, and it comes back online while you're lucid dreaming. So then you're able to have this awareness and agency that you physiologically couldn't have before because you've turned that part of your mind back on, that part of your brain back on. So it's really incredible what happens when you lucid dream. And then some steps before that aren't quite lucid dreams but are on towards that, because we're talking about the levels of lucidity, are a very vivid dream. One where you wake up and you're like, wow, I felt like I was really there, but you didn't know you were dreaming, you just really were embodied in it. There's also the semi-lucid dream, where you have a sense as you're going along in the dream, like, oh, I might be dreaming, oh, this could be a dream, but you don't click on, that light switch doesn't flip on of the aha moment of, oh, I know I'm dreaming. Or you might wake up from the dream and be like, oh yeah, I kind of knew I was dreaming while I was in the dream. So I like to distinguish that those aren't quite lucid dreams, although they're on towards it, because a lot of people have those experiences. But once you become lucid, you really know it, because it's an entirely different experience than a non-lucid dream. Yeah.
These cards, images, was before AI assisted art, and so they're all from Nisha's dreams. They're from different images and things that have come to her and through her to explain these different types of states of consciousness.
Yeah. So the next one that we've touched on a little bit, but I want to show too, is called the questioning mind. And it's a head that's exploding with butterflies. And what you're doing when you're in this practice of lucid dreaming and connecting with your dream time is you're cultivating a questioning mind. You're cultivating a mind that is constantly questioning throughout all phases of reality, could I be dreaming? This is a really core component of lucid dreaming, is you need to question while awake, could I be dreaming? So let's all take a moment right now and question, could I be dreaming? And it seems obvious, right? It seems like, oh, of course I'm not dreaming. But the same thing happens in your dream, because as I stated earlier, your brain, the questioning part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, is largely turned off, so it's not going to be asking the question. So even if there's a pink elephant in the middle of the room, you're going to be like, of course, that's normal. And only when you wake up, you'll realize that was the most obvious dream ever, but I didn't realize it. So you need to constantly be questioning in waking reality, could I be dreaming? Could I be dreaming? And we'll talk about what you do to really anchor that in a little bit, but that's something that you really need to do, is cultivate this questioning mind. The next really important thing to do, and this is why writing down your dreams is so important, is you look out for what's called dream signs. Has anybody heard that term before, a dream sign? And I'll show you, we'll pass these cards too. A dream sign is something that is particular to you and your dreams. So people can get really excited about dream dictionaries and looking up what your dreams mean, and that can be great as a starting point, but we always encourage people not to rely too heavily on that, because those are very general descriptions of what dreams mean. But you have your specific language that your dream is speaking to you in, your specific symbols and signs. And so what you're looking for with the dream signs are things that regularly appear in your dreams.
Like I dream about water a lot, like what my driveway will turn into a river, or there'll be a stream running through my house, or odd water appearances happen in my dreams a lot. So that's a dream sign. Another one for me is elevators, being in an elevator. What are some of yours?
Yeah, so some of mine are, I also have the elevators one, and maybe it's a familial thing. I don't know. Has anybody else had an elevator in their dreams before? Yeah, a few people. I also have a really funny dream sign of gross public restrooms for whatever reason. Those will come into my dreams where I'm like trying to go to the bathroom, but it's really gross and I'm having to step over things. And a good dream sign for lucid dreaming is one which appears in the dream time and ordinary reality regularly. So that one was a really good dream sign for me because it was a bridge, right? I'm constantly going to the bathroom in public, not in public, I'm going to the bathroom in public spaces. and I'm also doing that in my dream time a lot. So that's something that bridges between my dream time and ordinary reality regularly. Other dream signs are driving in the car. And sometimes in the dream, the car will be malfunctioning or go off the road. But that's something that's happening in my dreams in waking reality. Traveling, being on the plane, all of these things can be common dream signs as well as particular to your own inner worlds. So finding dream signs in your own dreams, looking through your dream journal and seeing, okay, what are these dream signs that are appearing regularly, and especially looking for ones that also appear in waking reality. That's starting to create the bridge between your dream time and ordinary reality. And what you do with that is then every time you encounter a dream sign in waking reality, you stop and you ask yourself, could I be dreaming?
So you were saying in waking reality, when you go in an elevator or near a body of water, you just pause and say, could I be dreaming? Even though you pretty much know you're in ordinary reality. But you've got to train your brain to question while you're in waking reality, or you will not question when you get into the dream time.
Yes. And so what you do then, this is the third part, and I talk about there's 3 key parts to lucid dreaming, and if you do this, then you'll be able to lucid dream. So the third part is then once you question in the space that you are in waking reality, wait a minute, this is a dream sign, could I be dreaming? You perform what's called a state check or reality check. Have you all heard that term before? Yes. Not a lot of you, right? So a state check is an action that you take to verify whether or not you could be dreaming. Because there's rules in the 2 worlds. There's rules in waking reality, and there's different set of rules in the dream time. And so one example of a state check or reality check is to look at your hands. And this is one that a lot of people have heard. Carlos Castaneda kind of popularized it. But you look at your hands and you flip them back and forth. So let's all do that right now. Flipping them back and forth. They look like our hands, right? There's a saying, I know it like the back of my hand, because we know our hands. In waking reality, they're going to stay the same, they're going to look the same. But in the dream time, they won't. You'll have an extra finger. They might glow. One time I flipped my hands back and forth and they turned into lobster claws. And then I knew beyond a doubt, okay, this is definitely a dream. So you see how the state check then is an action that really flips that switch of lucidity on, because then you know beyond a doubt that you're dreaming within the dream when you perform a state check and it verifies, okay, this is a dream. So I'm going to pass this card around, which is the hand state check, and it's 2 hands reaching to one another. One is from the dream time, one is from waking reality. So remembering the sequence. You track your dream signs, you write your dreams down, you encounter a dream sign in waking reality, and then you ask yourself, could I be dreaming? And then you perform the state check. You flip your hands back and forth. If you're not dreaming, they'll stay the same, so then you know, okay, I'm not dreaming, you go about your day. But you do that regularly throughout your days, because you're training your mind. Every time I encounter this dream sign, I perform the state check. Then what happens is you're going along, you don't know if you're in a dream or not, you encounter something that is your dream sign, you perform the state check, because, oh, this is just a thing I do, even though I know I'm not dreaming, but you perform the state check, you have an extra finger, all of a sudden, boom, you know that you're dreaming and you become lucid. So to really anchor that sequence, I'll give you an example of a lucid dream that I had that went that way. And I'll use the bathroom example because it's a good one, because that's really one that helped me in my beginning to get started with lucid dreaming regularly. So I got up in the middle of the night and I walked to my bathroom, just to go to the bathroom as I do, and I had this moment because I had been training my mind every time I go into the bathroom for my lucid dreaming practice, I'm going to ask, could I be dreaming? And I thought, oh, of course I'm not dreaming, but this is what I do. So I looked at my hands and I flipped them back and forth, and to my amazement, I had an extra finger. And I was like, wait a minute, this is a dream? And so then it switched on to lucidity, and all of a sudden, again, the quality of the dream changed. I felt like I was really, really there, fully embodied, and it felt very real. And so I was so excited, and I had this intention, which having intentions within lucid dreaming is really important too, that when I became lucid, I wanted to try to use the mirror as a portal to another world. So as I knew I was lucid, then I was like, okay, now I can do this intention that I had. I looked at the mirror, and I pushed my finger into it, and because I was in a dream, it didn't stop, it wasn't solid, my finger went right through the mirror, and my whole hand went into the mirror. And then I pictured this place that I wanted to be transported to, which was a place that frequently appeared in my dreams, a planet that has black sand and red water. So I imagined in my mind's eye, okay, I'm going to take myself to that place. And then I stepped through the mirror, I pushed my whole body through the mirror, and I looked down at the ground, and sure enough, there was all of this black sand, and I looked out at the horizon, there was all this red water, and I had the most incredible experience there. But I would have missed that whole entire lucid dream had I just gone into the bathroom in my dream and been like, oh, of course I'm not dreaming, and then just, did my business and continued on in the dream. So you see how important it is to perform these actions, to do the state checks. So we'll talk about a few other state checks now. Do you want to talk about the flying one?
Yeah. Well, have any of you flown in your dreams? Yeah, right. Well, we don't fly in ordinary reality, even though we want to. So, flying is an important state check, and the way that you do it when you're in ordinary reality to check and see if you're dreaming is you just jump off the ground. One of the rules of ordinary reality is gravity. So you will come back down. But if you jump off the ground even slightly in your dream, you will not. It'll pause and you'll come down slowly, or you might even lift up and start taking off. So that's one of the rules of the dream time, that gravity does not pull you back down. You have flight. So that's a really fun state check to do. And when I'm in an elevator, I really like doing it because it gives you a little extra fun. But yeah. Jumping up off the ground. So I'm in an elevator because that's one of my dream signs, and then I jump off the ground. Usually if I'm alone in the elevator, but sometimes with other people. Go ahead. Yeah, but then if you're in the dream, and I was actually in a dream in an elevator, and I would not have woken up if I hadn't done the state check, but I did do the jumping off the ground in the elevator, and I did float. And then everything started shifting, and this whole very important lucid dream came forth because I did that check. The lucid dreams are important because they are sort of like we get to go into the presence of great wisdom, and they're telling us things that we really need to know about situations in our life, or in the world, and in the cosmos, so we really get to experience with a different, more awake mind things that we need to know about when we go into the lucid state.
Yes, and for this session we don't have too much time, so I'm going to talk about a few more state checks that you can do, and then some more advanced lucid dreaming practices just to give you a taste of that. But I also want to make sure that we pass around the email list so that you all can stay in touch, and there's so much, this is the tip of the iceberg, so there's so much more to learn and talk about, and we have online classes and all of these ways to connect with us, so that will be going around as we finish up talking. And I want to save a few minutes to also answer some questions. So we're just going to speed run through this next round of talking about lucid dreaming. But also later today at 5, we're doing another workshop where we're going to give an experiential taste of crossing over into the dream time through the art of the drumming journey. And so we'll have more time to talk then too. So come back if you can. So a few more state checks that you can perform, because it's good to give different ones, because different ones work better for different people, and you might have just like a natural tendency towards one or another. The jumping one, there's also one where you can push and try to push through a solid object or your finger or your own hand. So everybody can try that right now. When you push in waking reality, it stops. But in a dream, you'll be able to move through solid objects. So throughout your day, this can be a really subtle one to do. If you just question, say you're at work and you're like, well, could I be dreaming? Because I dream about work a lot. Then just push into your desk. Okay, no, I'm not dreaming. But if you're dreaming, you can push your finger all the way through. And then with lucid dreaming, you can try out things. Say you're having a hard time at work and you want to have a difficult discussion with somebody. Well, in waking reality, if you just do that, there's going to be real world consequences to your actions. There's cause and effect. But in a lucid dream, you're dreaming, so it's not going to affect waking reality. So you can try out having a discussion, having a conversation with somebody, and see how it goes, see how it feels. Try out different scenarios. Well, what if I yell at them? Okay, I'm going to try that. Oh, I got my anger out, but that didn't go so well. Okay, what if I give them empathy? I'm going to try that. Oh yeah, that went well. So you get to try out these various scenarios in your dream time, and then why we call it lucid living is you wake up and you're able to wake up with this level of personal empowerment, confidence, because you really see, wow, I can do so much in my dream time. I have so much agency there. I can carry that over into waking life too, and then you can take actions from that space, having integrated your dream time and ordinary reality and feeling that lucidity, that level of agency that you have in your dream world. You realize how much agency we have in waking reality too, and really step into that, and we shift our mindset through these practices of lucid dreaming. Another state check.
Let me just say one thing.
Go ahead.
The freedom that we have in our dream time is a necessity for us, right? We have a lot of freedom to express in many different directions and try things out. So lots of times people will say to me, well, I'm worried that I dreamt about this, like I dreamt about that in my dreams. I said, don't worry about what you dream about in your dreams. That is your realm of freedom. You really need to have that exploration and freedom of expression in your dreams, so you try things out and learn and come back to ordinary reality and be more astute, be more strategic in what you do in ordinary reality. So you can see how if people don't remember their dreams and they're not very in touch with their own shadow, so to speak, the shadow will pop out in ordinary reality and mess things up, So it's a good way to really work with your unconscious and your shadow elements to be very aware in your dreams and allow this dream exploration so that you can be more healthy in your ordinary reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, walking through both worlds, having awareness in both worlds, which is the dream time and ordinary reality. The last state check I'll give you all to play with is a text one, looking at text, but you can also do it with your phone, where you look at anything that has text on it, you look at it, you look away, and then you look back at it. If you're in waking reality, it will stay the same, it won't change. But if you're in the dream, the text will change, it'll be hard to read. The same goes for a clock, looking at the time. So our phones are really good state check allies, because we're looking at our phone all the time. And so what you can do is each time you look at your phone, ask yourself, could I be dreaming? And then look at it look away, look back. Okay, it's the same right now for me, so I must not be dreaming. But if it changes, if it morphs, a lot of times I'll have viruses on my phones in my dream for whatever reason, then I'll know that I'm dreaming and I'll click into lucidity. So my homework to all of you is to try these state checks. And even if you haven't tracked your dream signs yet, you don't know what your anchors between waking reality and the dream time are, then pick something. Pick, okay, every time I go to the bathroom, because that can be a good one, or every time I walk through my front door, I'm going to stop and I'm going to ask myself, could I be dreaming? And I'm going to perform a state check. So you're creating this neural pathway in your mind that does that every time, and you'll find whatever you do in waking reality over and over again then comes over into the dream time, and then you will have a lucid dream. So it's really exciting. Some things that you can do once you become lucid. The first thing that a lot of lucid dreamers like to do is what I call the desire fulfillment phase. This is where you realize I can do pretty much anything in my dreams, and I want to do things that are enjoyable that I might not be able to do in waking reality or, whatever. And so one example that I give that is a very PG example is that I am allergic to wheat. I'm gluten intolerant in waking reality. And so for a whole phase of time when I became lucid in my dreams, I'd be like, I'm going to go to a bakery and I'm going to get some croissants and I'm going to get some donuts. And so I would become lucid in my dream. I'd fly, which is the most amazing feeling. I would fly over to a bakery. I would go into it and I would get all the croissants and donuts that I could eat. And again, it's as real. It feels as real. So it tasted just like eating an actual donut in my dream. And what happens then is because you're fulfilling these desires in the dream time, in ordinary reality, they really are satiated. So before lucid dreaming, I'd walk by a bakery and I'd look at the donuts and I'd be like, those look so good, I wish I could eat them. But after lucid dreaming and having my dream donuts, then I'd walk by the bakery and be like, oh, I've already satisfied that desire. So it's a really healthy thing to be able to satisfy and live out our desires in the dream time.
Yeah, there's so many experiences that you can have in the dream time that are amazing and useful to the world. Like, for example, one thing that happened to me for a number of years, and it doesn't tend to happen anymore, so I think we have seasons of dreaming. So I would say to people, really value your life as it goes along, because there's different seasons of life where you have different skills and different gifts that come to you, so each stage of life is so valuable and important. So I had this season where I was at night being taken to different places around the world that were under stress and people were dying. So Nicaragua was happening, Tiananmen Square, different places like that, and I would be taken there and I would be with people that were dying and I would be talking to them and saying, it's okay, we're going to another dimension and you're going to be all right. And one in particular that was affirmed in ordinary reality was this, that I was taken to a big recreation center in Japan where there are a whole group of children and teachers. And I spoke to the teachers and said, a big tsunami is coming, so let's gather the children all together and sing and protect them. But we are going to go, we're going to die. So we gathered the children and we're all singing together, and then we saw the big wave come over and crash in the building. Well, the next day, I don't usually turn on the radio, but I did turn on the radio, and it came on the news that there had been a tsunami in Japan, and that the one thing that was destroyed was a recreation center with all the children and teachers dying. So Great Spirit gave me the affirmation that it's real, what happens in our dream time, that we are given missions to do, and we need to be available for those things. So who knows what your tasks are or your missions are, but the dream time is a whole nother dimension of our existence. It's very, very important that we have identities there and things to do and service to provide. And
yeah, then, I always talk about the desire fulfillment phase first, but then from there, like you're hearing my mom sharing, there's so many amazing transformational things that you can do in this space. And you can approach it through different ways, too. I say there's different lenses to look at lucid dreaming. There's the psychological one, where you're able to then have a direct dialogue with your subconscious, with your psyche. So you can talk to your inner child about some moment in your life that happened that maybe was a past trauma directly. Have them there in front of you. Or to your higher self, your wise self. You can work through past issues and traumas and really do it in this way where it's fully embodied and lived, which is really amazing. There's also the spiritual lens where you can have, if you have spiritual practices in your waking reality, again, to be able to experience them fully in the dream time. I mentioned that I was working with Tibetan dream yoga and those practices, and there's one about experiencing the clear light of mind. And so you can think about that, you can meditate on it, but then they have a practice where you go into the lucid dream and then you're having this gnosis, you're having this direct experience of it. And so I did that where I became lucid in a dream. I realized I was dreaming. I had the strong and clear intent, this is what I want to do in my dream. And so I said, please let me experience what the clear light of mind is like firsthand. And then I was flying up, pulled into this white space. And it's an experience that can't really be put into words, right? But I was fully enraptured and enveloped in this clear light. And I woke up from that and I was like, wow, that was amazing. And I was able to experience that directly. So that's another example of a spiritual practice you can do, or calling on guides, guardians, allies that you're working with, and having them right there in front of you. We both have the dragon as one of our guides, and I've had many lucid dreams where then this dragon ally will come and will talk to me and share wisdom that feels like it's from this very high perspective and this grander scale than a human life, these eons of seeing life on planet Earth. And then there's also the scientific lens where you are doing things within your brain when you're lucid dreaming. You're forming better memory, better recollection. They've done studies, one that I like to name that gives a really grounded example of how lucid dreaming can be used. They had a bodybuilder who was also a lucid dreamer, and they had him in his dreams, in his lucid dreams, practice exercising and building up his muscle, and they tracked his muscle mass, and he wasn't doing any exercise in waking reality, and he actually gained muscle mass from lucid dreaming exercising. So that shows it's not just like a woo thing or just like, oh, it's something that's not really having an effect. No, it's having an effect on our physical bodies and our physical reality. So if you want to heal within your lucid dreams, if you want to practice a skill within your lucid dreams, that really translates over into waking reality too. It's like a superpower.
I had a dream once that we came to the stage on planet Earth where we were all taking off our masks and we were realizing all of who we are. And we were looking around at each other and going, wow, we see now, we know who we are, and it's time, because we all have to be in our complete powers, our superpowers for what we're here to do. So, wow, I think maybe we're coming to that kind of a time where we need to be fully awake. We are so vast and multidimensional. There's so much we could say about dreams that we've had, and I always want Nisha to share more and more of her dream experiences because they're so amazing to listen to. But as we say, come back at 5 o'clock because we want to take you into the experience of lucidity. One of the ancient ways of doing that is through a trance-induced drumming journey. So I learned to lead those over 40 years ago, and I've led thousands of people in the drumming journeys, right? So I have a repertoire of hearing thousands of people's journeys in these realms, and there really are other geographical dimensions that we all go to. So it's fascinating, because there are places we really go. That I've done it with people in Japan, South America, Europe, all over the world, and we go to the same kind of geographical places. So, wow, there's a reality to the other dimensions. So we'd love for you to get a chance to experience that with us later and see what happens for you. But we wanted to have a question and answer time right now, too, to get you engaged. And I think we have about 15 more minutes.
Yeah, and just, if some of you wander off during the question and answer, again, Lucid Dreaming, lucidliving.com is our website to stay connected with us. Our Instagram is the same handle, Lucid Dreaming, Lucid Living, where I share a lot of bite-sized chunks and information about lucid dreaming. YouTube channel, all those things are the same. So we really want to stay connected with you, and we have the email list going around too. And also make sure that the cards make it back up once everybody's done looking at them. So now for the last few minutes, we can take some questions, because this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Hi. I'm always reading about school.
School?
Yeah. So it's like, I'm going to try and describe it.
Take care.
Yeah.
Always dreaming about school.
Are we dreaming right now? It's kind of scary. Should we do a stage check? Okay, no, we're not dreaming. Please keep sharing, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in school and it's really weird because I'm kind of drifting in and out of a dream. And there's people around who are really quiet, but you can tell they've got a certain amount of wisdom. And they're kind of like showing us things. And there's just like some world events they're showing us. That was just one particular dream I had. But I just wondered if you'd ever experienced being in a school, because you have, okay.
Yeah, school, being in school is one of my dream signs too.
Mine as well, yeah.
And there's a reason for it in you. That's your own unique reason. Like in me, I kept dreaming that I hadn't finished college, and I did have a big trauma in college, so I think my psyche was trying over the years to heal that I hadn't finished. I really did finish it, but the trauma really affected me, so I would dream that over and over again. But there's a reason why you're dreaming of school all the time. And so it could be some trauma you're trying to heal, or it could be just that you're being drawn to more learning, or to opening up to your cosmic consciousness. But there's a reason why you are dreaming about school. But that's one of your dream signs. So like Nisha's saying, you can use it to wake up within your dream too. So when you're in the school setting in the dream, then you say, I'm in school again. Could I be dreaming?
Yeah.
And then you'll wake up in the dream.
And one more thing related to lucid dreaming is, like, we all have these recurring dreams. And what's really beautiful about lucid dreaming is that in a regular non-lucid dream, we kind of just go through the motions. And sometimes it'll be recurring nightmares too, and you're just in this scenario, this situation that's really uncomfortable over and over and over again. But within a lucid dream, when you become lucid, you say, wait a minute, okay, this is a recurring dream I'm dealing with, this is a pattern, let me do it differently in the lucid dream. Really quickly, I had a recurring dream where somebody was trying to break into my home, and I saw that then as a dream sign. I performed a state check when I had this dream of somebody trying to get into my house. I knew I was dreaming, so then I smiled and laughed. I was scared, and it transformed into joy, and I realized, okay, I'm dreaming, I can't be hurt. I opened the door, I invited the scary figure in. He smiled and laughed too, because I was like, I'm lucid dreaming, you can't hurt me. And he got the smile, he laughed, he came in, and we flew around together in my house. So you can see how it healed that loop. It healed that pattern. And then waking reality, I was also less scared of having my house broken into.
Here's a question.
That feeds off really nicely. So my question was how do you, so I have reoccurring of being chased, and I have a lot more nightmares than I have dreams. And so, but I can't quite, if I try and remember my dreams, I can't quite picture a school or a bathroom. I can't quite picture a place, but I can picture that feeling a lot of being chased.
Yes.
So how do I get that from life? And how do I use that in life of I'm being chased in life? How do I do a state check and then get that into the dream?
That's a wonderful question, yes. If you're, like I was saying, there are these things we can trace the dragon tail back into the dream, and feeling is a really good one. So rather than trying to see something happening in your waking reality that's like being chased, have the emotion be the anchor, the dream sign. So anytime you're feeling anxious, right? Then say, okay, this anxious feeling appears in my dreams, and it might appear more drastically as being chased, but it's something that we do feel in waking reality too, and then perform a state check when you're feeling that emotion that's tied, and that will anchor it over into the dream time.
Many people say that that they have a lot of difficult dreams, and sometimes people want to shut down their dream time because of that, you know. But our unconscious is trying to heal us, so we can trust that. What the dreams are presenting to us are something important for us to understand, right? So that's what you're being led to understand. Who was chasing you? Why were you running? What was the fear, you know? So the dream wants you to know that. And another thing is, like, if you can't handle it, if it seems too scary or too big, one rule is always call on an ally. So we can share our dreams with other people. That's one way to get allyship. It's really important to share our dreams with other people. We can get a therapist and help us to really work on our dreams. I did that for a period of about 5 years. I'm a therapist myself, but I really wanted to focus on this one type of dream I was having, and I went to a Jungian therapist and really focused in on healing that pattern that was coming out in that dream, you know. So get an ally to help you if it seems too overwhelming. But your trust that your unconscious is trying to give you a gift, right? Even if it's a hard nightmare, things that you don't want to feel or see, you've got to know it, right? You've got to remember something so that you can become more whole and heal it.
Come talk to us after, because we'll definitely talk with you for quite a while. But I think we only have time for one more question, so yes. Or, okay, that's two. Two questions.
Maybe just a quick one. Are there any plants or supplements apart from psychedelics that people take to encourage psychedelics that lucid dreaming?
Yes, there are. So Blue Lotus is one that, like, ancient Egyptians used for lucid dreaming. Mugwort can be another good one. Bobansana, which is like an Amazonian herb, is used for lucid dreaming and connecting to the dream time. I've tried a lot of the herbs. For me personally, they don't work as well, but for some people they really do. But it's worth trying. And then I would say also, in tandem with that, really doing the waking reality practices of state checks and all of those ones that I mentioned is really the way to create that consistent lucid dreaming and regular lucid dreaming. But those herbs are good ones to know about, to try out. One more question, yes.
That like a really standout dream actually called part of my dream when you were speaking about with pirate Captain Jack. Is that what I think?
A pirate.
Yeah. He was looking for an ice, and I was like, is it this? This crystal skull?
He was looking for what?
Crystal skull.
Crystal skull.
And then I was like, is it this? And he was like, yeah. Oh my god, we can look at that. Then I'm on an aeroplane which is going down. My sister, she's like, we're gonna make it. I was like, I know. She's like, have you got your crystal skull though? I was like, no, I've only just found out about it and given it to Captain Jack. And I woke up. I woke up the next morning and I pulled an oracle card, and it was a crystal skull oracle card in waking reality.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, there's like a massive thread there. You know where to take it.
Yeah.
I dreamed about flying yesterday, last night in the tent, and it was the same feeling.
Yeah, and for anybody that couldn't hear, she was talking about having a dreamtime object of a crystal skull then appear in ordinary reality pulling a card. And that is a really important thing to mention, that when you start doing these practices and remembering your dreams, you'll see the crossover. And as I've written down my dreams, I've seen how many precognitive dreams I've had. Dreams where, like, I woke up and I was like, that wasn't really anything, but I'd write down my dream, so I'll do it. I wrote down my dream, and then a week later, the thing would be happening that had taken place in my dream, or a month later, or a year later. And I'm not unique in that. We're all experiencing this, but if we're not tracking our dreams, we're missing out on seeing how much we're tapped into in our dream time, even in non-lucid dreams. So I think we're probably at time.
Just one
Go
more
ahead.
question.
Every
Doctor.
single symbol in your dreams is important. So pirate Jack, important symbol to delve into what that is for you. The crystal skull, super important symbol. You know, so there's a lot to explore in every single symbol of our dreams, and that as to what it means for you. Why was that happening? So the crystal skull is pan-religious too. It goes through a lot of traditions, but especially Mary Magdalene tradition is the crystal skull in it. So anyway, there's a lot packed into
She was talking about that last night.
every
Yeah.
dream.
And please, continue to talk to us if you want to. We'll be in the back there. Make sure you get on the email list. Please make sure all the cards come back to us. And also our website, Lucid Dreaming, Lucid Living. We have our first course that's launched on there, which is about connecting to your purpose through the dream time. And I have a QR code for it too if you want it once we go over to the side. But thank you all so much for being here. And come back at 5 if you want to continue with us.